Starting a business is the new go to college and get a secure job of this decade. Online courses and online coaching programs are the way of the future, it seems, with every athlete and fitness pro on social media releasing their latest Shreds Now course or Drop Weight Fast challenges. So how do you stand out and rise above the hundreds of thousands of online courses, coaching and consulting offers, and online fitness coaching programs that are out there? And how do you create your own blue ocean, so to speak, making it nearly impossible for competitors to come along and copy what you're doing? How can you create something that attracts the perfect people, actually gets some results, and takes less time from you, is infinitely scalable, and you can actually charge a lot more than you're charging right now? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I learned from Warren Buffett to help you do just that. Whether you have an online coaching business or course, whether you're doing in-person lessons, workouts, or camps, or even if you have a product-based or physical business. Hey, really quick, if you're getting any sort of value from this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up down below and make sure to hit that subscribe button because I create new content weekly that's full of actionable and how-to advice for your business. So to survive in the business landscape of 2022 and beyond, there's one thing, according to Warren Buffett, that you absolutely need to implement in your business model. Buffett, a man who seems to have some pretty great insights when it comes to business and making money, stealthily dropped the answer to this way before the online course market was saturated in his letter to shareholders in 2007. So in it, he talks about this idea of business models and what they look for at Berkshire Hathaway and the models that they avoid, as well as the okay models. He talks about the great business models, the good, and the gruesome, and he summarizes it like this. Think of three types of savings accounts, he says. The great one pays an extraordinarily high interest rate that will rise as the years pass. So in other words, it doesn't require that you continually make deposits. It pays a high rate, and that rate increases over the years, regardless of whether you put more in it or not. Then he says the good one pays an attractive rate of interest that will be earned also on deposits that are added. So meaning you get a good rate of return on your money, but you also need to continue to put money in to reap rewards. And lastly, he says the gruesome account both pays an inadequate interest rate and requires you to keep adding money at those disappointing returns. Meaning the business isn't making much money to begin with, and on top of that, it requires that you continually put in money to keep it going. So what does any of this mean for your business? Well, for starters, the traditional businesses as we know it are fading out in a lot of industries. COVID has expedited this process drastically and for the first time revealed just how fragile these heavy brick and mortar capital dependent businesses are. Entrepreneurs had a leg up on this, moving a lot of work to digital platforms over the years, but now the consumer world is catching on and realizing that they don't need to go into a gym to get results, they don't need to go into a mall to shop, and that they can have much better experiences and get better results outside of these traditional four-walled businesses. This is what Buffett refers to as the gruesome business model. Now, how do you know if your business falls into this category? Well, simply put, he defines the gruesome as a business that grows rapidly, requires significant capital to engender that growth, and then earns little or no money. In other words, they require a lot of capital up front and take a while to ever see a return. When athletes or well-known fitness pros want to start a business on their own, they tend to rely on their likeness, their own name, or their brand, and they often end up in these gruesome models. So these are things like starting their own facility, starting a brick and mortar gym, running athlete camps, or doing large events. These traditional models seem attractive from the outside, and maybe these may have been how businesses flourished 30 years ago, but now they're becoming increasingly tough to scale and run. They're the savings account that pays very little and requires you to continually put money in. But from the outside, running a gym seems like a very profitable thing to do until you get in it. Profit margins for these types of models obviously vary widely depending on the industry and business, but in my experience, they rarely see more than 30%. They're also notoriously difficult to scale and sustain. So for example, if you build a camp based on your name, what happens when you leave and you want to do something else? While these camps can fall into the good business model, which we'll talk about next, and they can turn out a decent profit over a weekend, you're putting in a lot of capital, not just money, but time to sustain it. And the likelihood of that carrying on without you, or of at least that camp maintaining the same profit margins when you leave, is really low. It requires continual investments that keep cutting away at your profits because sure, you could train up other coaches to deliver lessons based on your methods or to train them to run workouts based on your design, but that requires more time to train and more money to pay them as you gain more clients. So now you're just continually investing into something that wasn't paying extraordinarily high returns to begin with. And not to mention, should the world see another lockdown or some other economic phenomenon that prevents you from being in person and delivering your service, you have no buffer to float you if you can't stay open. So what alternatives do we have? What about the good business models? Now, before I give away the one thing that Warren says your business absolutely needs for sustainable success, when it comes to good business models, he says the problem is that capitalism guarantees competitors will repeatedly assault any business castle that is earning high returns. So in other words, without something that separates you and is really hard to copy, the castle or your business itself is not hard to replicate. And you'll soon find yourself in a sea of competitors where prospects are just comparing your price pricing to the other camp or clinic, or your coaching program's price to your competitors. And in the online world, these good business models are things like your online courses and your coaching programs or your athlete camps. Now, these are good because they produce good returns and are scalable to a point. So if you're doing one-on-one lessons, it doesn't often require a lot of upfront capital and can produce decent returns, but you don't have leverage. You're limited by how many clients you can take on because you only have so many hours in a day. Or if you scale up your camp, you're still limited by how many athletes you can service in a weekend or how many coaches you can hire to help you out. But again, with good business models like courses and programs, eventually you get competitors. Another online course on pitching, on defense, on hitting, on keto, on paleo. So this is when price becomes the thing you're competing on, and it's a really tough game to win because it's a race to the bottom. And as Dan Kennedy once said, there is no strategic advantage to being the second lowest price leader in town. So if you can't be the lowest cost provider, like a Costco or a Walmart, don't compete on price. Beyond that, in this model, really the only other way to win out over competitors is to have massive brand recognition. So take Pepsi and Coca-Cola, for example. At one point, it looked like Coca-Cola had the brand recognition as the first on the market, but between 2016 and 2018, Pepsi's revenue increased while Coca-Cola steadily declined. And Pepsi has worked tirelessly at gaining the edge over Coke, but this was also extremely expensive for them to do. So massive brand recognition like that is often really expensive. Now, athletes or rockstar fitness coaches can sometimes gain that brand recognition in their business based on the reputation alone. But once again, if you leave the business, you lose your competitive edge. So what is the one thing that can turn a good business model, like your coaching program or online course, into a great business model? Through the lens of Warren Buffett, how do we protect the castle? Well, he says that a truly great business must have an enduring moat that protects excellent returns on invested capital and creates a formidable barrier that's essential for sustained success. You have to have something that's hard to copy, or you'll eventually be drowned out by your competitors, and your prospects will begin valuing your product or service on price alone. This has personally been the biggest change that we've made to our business model, and because of it, we've been able to increase our prices substantially while getting better results and providing more value for our clients. So for us, you get the strategy and the frameworks, but it's combined with a done-for-you creative team. So if you currently have a coaching program, how can you create that moat? Maybe you're offering group coaching calls or one-on-one calls already, and you're giving a weekly workout plan and nutrition plans, but what's the one thing that you can add to your offer that's hard to copy? Can you add in a done-for-you aspect, such as grocery delivery service? So you could give an Instacart shopping list each week based on their personal macro needs and goals, and with one click, they could have everything they need at their doorstep. Now notice that adding that costs you nothing, but it adds tremendous value over just giving your clients a list of approved foods. Or could you partner with a meal prep service or a chef that can take those ingredients and then prepare them for your clients? Now in the world of online courses, where the course is more of a done with you, what can you offer to take it a step further? Can you do athlete assessments virtually, or find a third-party service that does this so you can assess their mechanics and help them tweak this personally in a group coaching call or in a one-on-one? So even if you have a brick and mortar business or you sell a physical product, how can you create a digital asset like a course or a coaching session to separate you from your competitors? So for example, if you sell apparel, can you give them access to a library of drills for their sport from top athletes? If you have a camp, instead of scaling your camp and training up other coaches to deliver your training across the country, what if you instead sold your framework to build a successful camp to others that wanted to do the same thing? You could deliver this framework digitally in the form of a course combined with a coaching program, and your moat could be a done-for-you software or back-end service that takes care of all the operations for them. So it takes care of their booking, their scheduling, and their payments. Either way, no matter what your current business model is, the goal is to figure out what your long-term USP or unique selling proposition is that makes it hard for competitors to copy what you offer. In this way, you can also raise your prices, but notice that all of the moat ideas above don't require more of your time beyond creating them just once. This gives you leverage so that you can scale infinitely. Now, you're no longer limited by how many clients you can take on. And plus, when you move to this combination of done with you and done for you, you get better results for your clients, and those results will attract others to you that will no longer consider your competitor that's offering less, even if their prices are lower. So to sum it up, to get to a great business model, you need something that produces high returns, doesn't require a lot of upfront capital or continued investment, and has a moat, something that's hard to copy and that offers great value to your clients. So now you know how to turn your business model into one with long-term success. But do you know how to craft your messaging to attract your perfect client? Do you know what content you should be creating, or how to implement your entire content marketing strategy in just a couple of hours per week? If not, check out my free training over at get.upperhandcreative.com/learn, where I'll walk you through it step by step, and comment down below if you got an idea from this video for your business model.